Okay, I just commenced the webinar. We are gonna get started in a minute. I see that some participants are coming. That's good. Hello, Frank. Hello, Guido. Hello, Kim. Hello, Paul. Hello, Da. I believe that you can't answer me, but keep in mind, chat is all yours. It's your space. You can use it to communicate with us, to ask questions. And you'll be able to do it in a second. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Marcin is my name, and I'm your host. And whether you are tuning in from your home or from your office, I'm very happy to have you with us, especially that we have a very exciting topic today. But before we dive in, just a few housekeeping items. First of all, to remind you, this is Ask Me Anything webinar, so you're free to ask questions. And I'm sure you do have many questions. You can use chat to drop there your questions. And aside from that, this webinar is being recorded and will be shared with you afterward. And we also have Klaus Noske on board, our solution architect. Klaus has joined us with a special message to our German viewers. Is that right, Klaus?
Yeah, hello everybody. Good afternoon. I will keep it in English, although we have some people from Germany in here, and I will just want to point out this is an international webinar that we did today. But if you have some questions and you're too shy or don't want to ask them or have some different topics to discuss in German, then please just reach out to me or drop a message here inside the webinar, and I will call you back, and we can also have a chat in German language and discuss all your questions that you have. So thanks a lot, and
thank you, Klaus.
Back to you.
Yeah, and aside from that, we are also keen on having another webinar, which will be fully in German language. Just drop me a line if you would be interested in participating in such an event. Now I want to introduce my guest and expert, Martin Fan, Field CTO, North America, Catalogic Software. Hi, Martin, how are you?
Good, Marcin. Thanks for having me on the call.
A pleasure, so mine. Today we're gonna talk about backup software upgrades. We talked about it yesterday, and I had that reflection that backup software upgrades are a little bit like uninvited guests. But if you don't look after your upgrades, you can get some real problems, especially if you run a business, if you work in the administration, if you work for a huge institution. When you deal on a regular basis with data, your company's data, your own data, your client's data, and stats show that if you don't upgrade, you can become a very easy target for ransomware. And I think that they should be a priority number one for people to keep in mind that they should upgrade their backup software. But I believe, Martin, that this is not the only reason.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think everyone here, as you know, an IT practitioner, knows that they need to remain at the latest and greatest. We at Catalogic Software, we've been in this business for over the past 3 decades, so almost spending 30 years at this point. So we've grown up with the data protection industry. Now imagine if those customers had not upgraded since version 1 of our product, right? So there's a lot of new features and releases that we are continually expanding the capabilities and functionality of our software that users just aren't able to take advantage of if they don't upgrade within a timely manner.
Like, for example, can you mention some of those features?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So recently, we've developed some ransomware detection features. We call it DPX guard mode, which is more of a file governance feature. It allows us to detect all the underlying transactions that are occurring to the file system And it's also part of the greater vision or goal that we have within our data protection suite in being a more cyber resilient application for your data protection requirements. In fact, it's kind of funny. I was reading an article yesterday. Veeam had just announced a similar capability, right? So
Yeah.
it almost felt good to kind of beat them to the punch, but know that direction that we are taking from a data protection, cyber resilient type aspect of data protection was the correct one. So guard mode is a really big feature in terms of new capabilities that are being added to data protection, but also at the same time, it's a lot of the little features. I say little, but they're kind of big in the sense that they change end user perception and perspective of the application itself. So we've designed a new web UI from the ground up that is capable of instead of having tasks be completed like defining backups, but this new UI is built from the ground up to actually provide users with a more intuitive look and feel, but also the reporting and insight into their data protection application that will allow them to do things such as chargeback or determine how much data is being used, what their success rates are, just get an overall holistic view of their overall backup environment so that they know where to spend their investments.
Yeah, and I believe that it's also worth mentioning that those auxiliary services that come along with the upgrade are often pro bono. So basically, you can get a helping hand without spending a dime on it, having an expert with you who will show you exactly what to do. Does it work like that, Martin?
Yeah, absolutely. So you might have seen an email from me, I guess a few days ago. I sent out this email to existing customers that we knew were on an early release of DPX. And one of the trickiest parts about the upgrade / migration is that migration portion. So with the new version of DPX, if you're coming from an early release of DPX, let's say you've hosted your DPX master server on a Windows machine, what we want to do is ensure that you can transition smoothly over to the new VM appliance that we are now hosting our master server on. So we can help you free up that Windows license and actually create a black box for helping you manage your DPX environment. So this is something that you can just deploy and then continue to use your environment. But that's something that is a one-time operation for you. So if you are on the fence and migrating that appliance is keeping you from performing the upgrade, don't fear, because that is a free service, as you mentioned, Martin, that we will get on the phone, help you plan that migration, help you plan the upgrade, make sure you have all your ducks lined up, and then help you perform the upgrade so that transition is as smooth as possible for you.
Before I ask you my next question, I'd just like to remind our guests that they can use chat to ask Martin anything they want, related, of course, to backup, software upgrades, and so on. My next question will be about, well, that plan. You mentioned it at the end, the importance of planning your upgrade. What does it include, actually?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in carpentry, they say you measure twice and cut once, right? So this is the planning aspect of your upgrade is what's going to determine, your success in an upgrade, or if there is a failure, your ability to at least fail back or roll back to the exact situation that you've been in without much effort. So that whole planning phase is something that we can discuss with you directly. And some of the variables that we'll be taking into account in this case is what your current environment is looking like. If it's a really old version where we might have to jump to an intermediate version before we can get to our latest and greatest version, that is something that we'll also take into account. But at the same time, if the components or the different components that you're also looking to upgrade as well, you have to upgrade agents, you have to upgrade, let's say, storage destination repositories, right? So where you're getting that storage, playing the storage requirements that you would need for the upgrade is what we'll discuss with you over that call.
Martin, because of your role in the company, I believe that you have a contact with many clients. You talk with them on a daily basis. Do they tell you about like their most frequent challenges when it comes to upgrading software? Have you ever stumbled upon anything extraordinary that you heard from their end?
Yep. Yeah, it's a great question as well. So I do speak with a lot of customers. Just as part of my role, I guess I hear more about the issues and problems more often than I do about the successful upgrade. So they come, no one is calling me because they had that successful upgrade, but I do hear from a lot of folks that are in the process or on the fence of planning their upgrade. They call us up, myself, Klaus, our other counterparts, and they tell us, hey, we're looking to upgrade. We discuss these plans and just considerations that they would need to take into account with them over the phone. And then at that point, we offer them assistance, or if they want to do it on their own. If it's successful, we never hear from them again. But when it fails, or if they run into issues, maybe that we didn't take a variable into account, or they hit something, then it's usually a matter of finding the culprit and then resolving that within to their satisfaction. So, yep.
Martin, coming back to that guard mode thing, ransomware attacks are breaking the news almost every day. First of all, do you think that it's really a problem? Are ransomware attacks are really on the rise nowadays?
Oh yeah, it's absolutely a huge problem, and it's something that we experience in the data protection industry. We encounter stories of ransomware and being able to recover or / pay the ransom. We hear about this stuff just all the time being within this industry. I think I read a stat once where ransomware was doubling year over year, right? It's a big business at this point, right? Because if you can get someone to pay your ransom, right, that could justify your entire year's revenue. So at this point, ransomware is being run like a business, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that we want to do, especially as a data protection, being in the data protection industry, is we want to look at data protection as more than just an insurance policy, right? As I mentioned, we kind of grew up in this industry over the past 3 decades, where we start off with data protection to tape, and then evolved to disk-based data protection, developing our own software-defined storage appliance Target, where we can control aspects of immutability and snapshots and replication. So now, as we approach this ransomware, right? We need to look at data protection as more than just an insurance policy, right? One of the steps that we took from being this insurance policy was we had a data reuse case, being able to mount up snapshots, and I think some of you might have even used some of our advanced recovery capabilities to possibly upgrade your own enterprise in the past, right? Where you can spin up a VM from snapshot and perform testing and disaster recovery on that machine, and then tear it back down when it's no longer required. But we need to think about it more than even that, and that's where ransomware, guard mode, that functionality comes into play, because hackers are getting smart, right? They are encrypting backup snapshots even, right? So with that, if you're encrypting backup snapshots, you have nothing to restore back to. That's going to be an issue when you are hacked with ransomware. And this is some of the capabilities that guard mode is looking to counter and provide you with an additional piece of functionality to further protect and solidify your backup recovery point as being something that's valid to restore and recover from.
But our snapshots are like currently the most common way of restoring stuff that has been lost or has been, attacked by some malicious folks in the digital world.
Yeah, the snapshots are a common way, and they come in different flavors, right? So we're using snapshots as recovery targets, but snapshots can also be used as in-place recovery point in times, right? But I think you hear a lot about snapshots aren't backup, right? Because if you're only
Yeah.
taking snapshots on your primary storage, right, and you lose your primary storage device, well, now you need something that a destination storage device like a vStore or a NetApp to copy your snapshot to, or replicate that over to another vStore, and kind of establish your 3-2-1 strategy of data protection. And by that, I mean keeping 3 copies of your data across 2 separate locations, one in an air-gapped offsite location that's verifiable, right? So that's
Yeah.
the backup strategy that DPX was built upon, and based off of our solution architecture, you can fit in the pieces as you need to accommodate that strategy.
But speaking of our software, how does it work in details when it comes to restoring, after the ransomware attack? Perhaps you'd like
Yeah,
to maybe you have some presentation, or you would like to show it or on some example, or
yeah, I think it'd be easy to just show my screen here and give
awesome.
you a little run through of the new UI and just some ways in which you can set up your environment and look at guard mode as well. But in terms of having, let's say, a backup and recovery application, the DPX, this is a DPX UI. What we're doing is we're doing block level incremental backups forever, right? So essentially we're taking snapshots of your physical machines, your virtual machines, doing agent-based and agentless backups, and providing you with the ability to perform advanced recovery from these backup snapshots or recovery points. And this is just as simple as defining the backup within DPX. So here I'm logged into my DPX dashboard. And for those users who have been using our Java UI, you can already see that this UI has been redeveloped from the ground up, right, in order to take a more holistic view of the DPX enterprise. So we're showing you very high level information that you can drill down into. You can determine your success rates, where your backup jobs are falling within schedule on a Gantt chart here. Just jumping back to your question, Martin, is how you go about defining a restore and leveraging these snapshots is just by simply going to the job manager here and clicking on defining a new restore job. And there are multiple restore jobs that you might want to define based off of your use case. So if you wanted to take a snapshot of a whole machine and make it into a virtual machine, this is what we call our VM restores or virtualization restores. If you just want to pull out a single file from, let's say, an agentless backup, you can define what's called an agentless restore. Or if you want to mount up snapshots, we have instant access. So there's various ways in which you can leverage these snapshots for your data reuse case, restoring applications, and you can find them all in the GUI here.
That's awesome. Thank you, Martin. Just one more thing, again, to our viewers. I just found out that I have enabled to you the chat just a minute ago. So if you have questions, any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. No matter. Yeah, thank you, Da. Exactly. Feel free to ask questions in that regard. Martin, I have another question because I think it's a common issue for many people. Like, especially today, people are aware that data they manage is their holy grail, right? For many reasons. But there is an issue. Okay, I want to be upgraded, updated, but at the same time, I don't want to like spend too much money on software. I also don't want to have like any problems, any situations where the update or the migration aspect would hinder my everyday operations. Is there a way to I don't know, to alleviate those different things, like the need of upgrading your backup software on one hand, and on the other, the aspect of running your business, running your infrastructure seamlessly?
Yeah, I think the hardest part, and what's keeping most people on the fence from upgrading today, is just this feeling of inertia, right? A lot of people feel that if it ain't broke, there's no reason to mess with it. There's no reason to fix it. But at the same time, you run the risk of not being able to take advantage of some of these latest and greatest features that we are introducing with DPX, right? And I think we get that, right? I think everyone gets that. And that's why we are offering this free pro bono service to help you migrate your master server. And when talking about upgrade and migration in general, I think I use those terms almost interchangeably at this point, because as I'm having these discussions, a lot of users that are looking to upgrade are coming from these earlier versions where a migration from, let's say, a Windows DPX master server needs to take place before being able to upgrade to that latest and greatest. But I would say that is um, the biggest hurdle in terms of getting upgraded is that migration process. But once at the VM appliance, I think the story changes from an upgrade perspective moving forward, right? So when you're at the new VM appliance, we have a lot more control, a lot more visibility into this black box that you just deployed. And all you see is really a master server that you're not really logging into. You're administering DPX from the web UI or even from the Java user interface if you still want to prefer that. But the web appliance or the VM appliance here actually containerizes and abstracts a lot of processes and services that you won't need to drill down into the nitty gritty of. But best of all, because it is a VM appliance and it's something that we have direct control over, having upgrades and being able to supply upgrades and updates to the software, to that master server, is going to be greatly simplified, just simply because it's we know what's on the appliance. We've containerized all of our modules, so they're expected to work within that black box of a VM appliance that you just deployed. So upgrades from that standpoint become so much easier. Again, it's just that migration portion that I guess is keeping most users on the fence, but that is the service that we're offering to help you out with that data movement.
Speaking of simplification, when you were demonstrating the updated version of DPX, it seemed to me like a thing that it's really easy to use. Just a few clicks and you get what you really want. So I want to ask, what has changed in terms of usability comparing to previous versions? How people can benefit from those changes as well?
Yep. So one of the big changes that you'll see immediately is the web UI here that I have up and running. And I think for the existing customers on the phone, this is a nice change. It's easy on the eyes, as they say, right, in terms of getting a high-level overview of your data. But there's also other features here that we talked about, like guard mode, as an example, that are not going to be available unless you migrate to this VM appliance and perform that upgrade. And just some of the guard mode functionality here on the web UI. And right now you can see those events. So this is just the role-based reporting that users or that's being reported by the DPX master server as users log in, run their restores, run their backups. You now have a view of as to what everyone is doing within this new UI as part of this cyber security and access resiliency type approach. But at the same time, the guard mode events are reporting events to the file system or transactions to the file system. And the way you can set up guard mode is by setting up block lists and thresholds and patterns and honeypots, everything that would be a violation within your world, something that you did not want landing on your file system or within your snapshots. This is a type of information that guard mode would be presenting back to you. And I'm just pulling up one of these events that occurred from our ransomware detection or guard mode category. And by the way, all these events can be forwarded to your sysadmins or your network admins, your security administrators, your VM administrators. So depending on the type of event that occurred, different people might want to get notified. But in terms of data that's being reported, we're looking at users that are accessing the process ID, which caused the violation, the file that was being violated. So all this functionality here is only available with the new VM appliance, if you will.
Martin, before we wrap up, just one more question from my end. If you could, shortly recap on how to prepare to, backup software upgrades. What's the best practices, like 3 best things that you can do when you want to upgrade your software? Just to, as a quick recap to our reviewers before we leave.
Absolutely. So again, it's all about planning, right? Making sure that you measure twice, cut once type approach. And I actually did a video on this in YouTube. So if you want a more high-level overview, it's about a 3-minute video. You can check it out, the process of what you should be thinking about when upgrading. And there's a link to a good knowledge base article which lists out the details from that further. But in terms of upgrade in general, what I would consider as my 3 main planning phases are understanding where I'm coming from and where I'm going to, right? Am I coming from like a VM appliance and doing an upgrade in place, or do I need to perform that migration? If I need to perform that migration, how can I, my failback plan is already in place because both of these appliances or software versions are going to be up and running simultaneously. So I just need to ensure that the machine or the VM appliance that I'm migrating to has the ability to store the contents of my old master server, and that all has to deal with storage space and the amount of resources available on that master server. But when I have those 2 things in place, I would say that I have my fallback plan, I have my migration plan. If I'm talking about a true upgrade, right, and I'm already on the VM appliance, and I can take advantage of a lot of the fallback policies or processes that are or can be native to VMware, right? I can take a VMware snapshot, right? So everyone who's used, or a Hyper-V snapshot directly from the hypervisor. But if I didn't have that option, right? Let's say I was running on a physical machine that I just want to upgrade in place. Well, remember, you use our advanced recovery to plan your upgrade here as well, right? Where we can, if you back up your master server, you virtualize your master server through one of our advanced recovery restores, right? So now you have a dummy master server or a temporary test dev DR master server that's running out there that you can now perform your upgrade process on and make sure everything's okay before perform that same approach to your current master server. But those are, every situation I think is going to be a little bit different. I think that the main key points are just having that plan in place, right? Understanding the nature and the flow of what you need to do, and then having a proper fallback plan in case things go awry.
Thank you. It was my final call to you guys. If you have any questions to Martin, right now it's gonna be my final call. In the meantime, I will ask my last question. I promise that's my last question. Martin, if I needed your aid on upgrading my software, that pro bono service that we discussed at the beginning, how can I reach out to you?
Yeah, so you can email me, mfan@catalogicsoftware.com. You can also go to our website where there is an email address, info@catalogicsoftware.com, that you can send out an email to, and I'll receive that notification one way or another. You can contact our support organization using the 800 number if you've called into us before, and they can route those messages to me or one of my field counterparts. So yeah, I welcome all your suggestions, your feedback, your questions. So don't be shy in terms of reaching out, but there's various avenues that you can get the message out to myself or someone from my team or our support team.
Also, if you are an active social media user, I encourage you to visit our landing page and to connect with Martin Fan on LinkedIn as well. Well, that was quite a journey. Martin Fan, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me, Martin.
So guys, that's a wrap. That was our premiere Ask Me Anything webinar. We'll let you know about the next episode next month. We will keep you posted. Thank you so much for being with us, and see you soon.